does it grow? Is it that when you are born, there is a nascent Atma, a baby Atma, which then becomes a child Atma, adult Atma, and so on? No. Bhashyakara Shankara said it does not grow either. Here he introduced a small definition of growth, vriddhi. Any growth means that something that was not earlier should come into being. For instance, a young man previously did not have a mustache and therefore did not have to shave. Now he has both a beard and a mustache and has to shave every day. This is vriddhi, growth. Something new has happened. In any growth, there are always new features introduced. Either something is added to what is already there or it expresses itself in some new way. Either way, the arrival of a new feature makes the thing grow. For instance, a small sprout begins to grow, it branches out into leaves and flowers and becomes a full grown tree. Therefore, growth always implies new features added to a given stem, and the new feature that has been gained means that which grows is no longer the same. Atma has always ever grown, meaning that it never grows. Only that which has a feature and attribute can grow and decline, wax and wane, bulge and contract. If it is a color, for example, it will fade or a new color may come. Something can happen to it, whereas Atma, having no features whatsoever, no limbs or attributes, is Purana, Purana, ever new. Even when the body is destroyed, Hanyamane Sharire, Atma is not destroyed. It is to be taken here in the sense of change so as not to confuse its meaning with the use of Hanti and Hanyate, to kill and be killed in the previous verse. All that is being said is that Atma undergoes no change whatsoever. Shankara concludes his commentary of this verse by saying that with reference to Atma, Krishna negated the sixfold modifications that we see in any given physical body, namely birth, existence, growth, modification, decline, and death. The meaning of these two verses, taken from the Shruti, therefore, is that Atma is free from any manner of modification. In no way is it subject to change. No one can effect a change on Atma because it is not available for objectification and does not have any avayava, feature or attribute to receive such an action, nor does Atma itself undergo a change to perform any action. Therefore, being both akarta, not a doer of the action, and akarma, not an object of the action, Atma is asochya, not a source of sorrow. What is sochya then? There should be an object available for sorrow, a situation capable of causing sorrow. Atma cannot cause sorrow because it does not undergo any change, nor does it subject itself to change. How then can it be a Sochya? Atma, whose Swarupa nature is Ananda, fullness, can only be a Sochya.
Fantastic. We'll just take a quick minute to recap. So in the previous verse, we were talking about it cannot be killed. It can neither kill nor can get killed. And Bhagavan is extending that thought into putting it into different words, that it doesn't grow, it doesn't have all the 6 modifications. Anything that makes or does an act or an action will have to undergo change, and that change it is not undergoing that change. Therefore, it cannot perform any action, nor it is the receiver of any action, because it is not an object of perception. So that's an important one. Now, after 21, we'll just pause a little longer and we'll do a little more study on this. Who would like to chant along the shloka with me and then do the study?
I can.
Anitaji. So we'll break the shloka first. Veda avinashinam nityam ya enam ajam avyayam. So there are multiple sandhis here, mostly savarna dirgha sandhi. So it becomes Veda vinashinam nityam ya enam ajam avyayam katham sa purusha Partha kam ghatayati hanti kam. When a visarga is followed by a pa, there is an F kind of a sound. We have talked about that. So that would appear between Purusha and Partha. So Anitaji, I'll chant the full line, the first line. Maybe we'll do the quartlets.
Okay.
Veda vinashinam nityam
Veda vinashinam nityam
nayenamajamavyayam
nayeva nadamavyayam
na enam ajamavyayam.
nayenam najamavyayam.
Katam
Yeah,
sapurusha.
excuse me.
Sorry, go ahead, Ratiji.
It says Iya Enam in my book.
Which one? Sorry.
Nityam Iya Enam Avyayam.
Yeah, ya enam ajamavyayam. So ma and a get combined together to form enam ajamavyayam.
No, you were chanting Na Enam Ajamavyayam.
Oh, did I? Sorry,
Yes.
apologies for that. Sorry, it is ya.
Okay. Want to make sure. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. Sorry, apologies if I did that. Ya enam ajamavyayam.
Ya enamajamavyayam
Katham sapurushav partha.
katham sapurushat partha
Kam ghatayati hantikam.
kam khatayati hantikam.
Awesome. Go ahead, Anitaji.
Partha, O son of Partha or Arjuna, Enam, this Atma, Avinashinam, indestructible, Nityam, timeless, Ajam, unborn, Avyayam, that which does not undergo decline, Yaveda, the one who knows, Sa, that, Purusha, person, Katham, how, come, whom, Hanti, kills, come, whom, Gatayati, causes to destroy. O son of Partha, the one who knows this self to be indestructible, timeless, unborn, and not subject to decline, how and whom does that person kill? Whom does he cause to kill? The one who thinks that Atma performs the action of killing, or any action for that matter, does not know Atma, and the one who looks upon Atma as an object of the action of killing or any other action also does not know Atma. This is because, as we saw in an earlier verse, Atma does not kill or nor is it killed. Na hanti, hanyate. To put it positively, one who takes the Atma to be neither the subject nor the object of action knows the Atma. What has been pointed out so far was summed up here by Krishna, was that Atma does not become the karta or karma of any kriya, including killing, hanana kriya. Having introduced this point, he explained this is because Atma is not subject to change. Having given the reason, he concluded, stating that the one who knows the Atma knows it to be Avinashi, not subject to death or destruction. The body's change is called Bhava Vikara. Bhava Vikara. A technical expression to include Jayate is born, Vardate grows, Viparinamate metamorphosis, Chiyate, wanes or declines, and Vinashayati, dies. Because Atma does not have this last bhava vikara, it is referred here as Avinashi. The one who knows Atma as one that is not subject to death and therefore timeless, Nitya, is called an Atmagnani, the knower of Atma. The Atma is also known by the Atmagnana as unborn, Aja, and as that which does not undergo any kind of decline, Avyaya. Unlike Atma, the body is expended as the years go by. This is why it is described as a spent force. The job being done, the game is over. All that is then discussed is in the past tense. I was like this, I was like that, and I would have been like that, etc. This is vyaya, expenditure, whereas the Atma is avyaya. In Sanskrit grammar also, an indeclinable word is called avyaya, that which does not change in any situation, regardless of number, gender, or case.
Thank you, Anita ji. Would somebody else want to read the next topic?
I can read.
Please go ahead, Sati ji.
Bringing up one more point in his summary, Krishna asks, Kam Hanti, whom does that person destroy? Kam Ghadayati, whom does he impel to kill? There are two types of action reflected here. One is the action that you do, and the other is the action that you make others do. In a robbery, for example, there is the accused number one and the accused number two. One may have performed the act of driving the getaway car, while the other performed the act of driving the driver. There is someone who performs the felony, and there is someone else behind. The one behind the felony is the accused, and the one who performed it is only an accomplice. The accused is an important person, the kingpin, whereas the other one is only a pin. But both of them perform action. How can one who knows Atma perform the action of killing? And whom does he or she kill? Where is the person being killed? Where is that action? A question is not really being posed here. For instance, we are not trying to find out by what means the killing is done, nor are we trying to find out why the person does it or whether he or she kills. It is not the intent here. Rather, how can one kill and whom does one kill is being looked into. There should be some vikriya on one's part in order to perform the action, and Atma is avikriya. A doubt may arise here. If there is no vikriya for Atma, and Atmajna knows that Atma, the I, is not the performer of any action, how then can that person perform any action? What is to be understood here is that Atma does not perform any action. It does not kill nor cause anyone to kill because Atma does not even wish. It is the Swarupa of every wish. The wish is a Namarupa, a thought. And if you press the thought, it ends up in Atma, wherein there is no thought anywhere. Thus, any given thought or desire is mithya, and the doership is also mithya. If you analyze who the doer is, you find that the doer is nothing but consciousness, Chaitanya. That is, the doer disappears in the Chaitanya and is not there at all. When the doer is there, Chaitanya is there. Whereas in the Chaitanya, there is no doer. Therefore, there is only drama. There is no real doer, only an as though doer. It is as though he or she hears, as though listens, as though talks, as though walks, and as though stands. There is no doership in Atma because Atma is always free. The notion that I am the performer of the action is the source of action we talk about here. Where is an action without a karta? Without the doership, kartrutva, there is no real action at all. Therefore, the doership is the one that gives the blood, bones, and flesh necessary for the action to be an action and for the karma phala to be the karma phala, the result you enjoy. The whole cycle is based upon the kingpin, the karta. Without the karta, there is no karma or karma phala. The karta is defined as the one who decides and performs action. He or she has kriya, etc. Therefore, can choose from the hundreds of verbal routes for doing that are available. The doer can choose to kill, to speak, or to do any of the varieties of actions possible, but for the Atma, which is avikriya, free from any chain, there is no kartrutva, where then is the question of how and whom with reference to killing, katham khadayati, katham hanti, kam khadayati, kam hanti. Do you want me to continue? Or?
Yeah, there is a little bit more. So I know the topics are divided a little differently compared to what's on the app versus my PDF.
Yeah. Okay. A sarva karma sannyasi. The word hanti here is only contextual and has nothing to do with killing as such. Shankara says that the expression is purely with reference to action. What kind of action does the person perform, and what kind of action does he or she cause anyone else to perform? A question may then arise here. If a person is a sarva karma sannyasi and has given up all karmas, will he or she not perform any action at all? Does the person continue to perform actions? Does he or she not teach? Does the person not do anything, not even eat, walk, and talk? How can you say that one who still performs these actions is a sarva karma sannyasi? Sarva karma sannyasi is the one who does not have the notion that I am the doer. That is, the one who does not have kartrutva buddhi. For such a person, there is no doership in the Atma. One is not a sarva karma sannyasi by merely not doing karma. One may be a karma sannyasi, but not a sarva karma sannyasi. Even if one does not do any karma, if one has kartrutva buddhi, one is still a samsari. A sarva karma sannyasi is a jnani, one who is totally free from all karmas. Even if karmas are performed, the jnani does not perform any action. In this, one has no doubt whatsoever, because with reference to Atma, the self, the notion of doership is not there. All that takes place for the jnani is that the sense organs, backed by the mind, engage themselves in their own fields of activity. The jnani does not look upon himself or herself as the karta. This is the actual meaning of sarva karma sannyasi. There's one more paragraph.
Oh, sorry, I muted myself because there was some noise from the road. I was saying we'll just pause here for a quick minute and we'll recap something.
Okay.
So Veda Vinashanam. So here Bhagavan is talking about Veda, and he's not talking about the nouns like the Vedam, Rig Vedam and Atharvana Vedam. There, he's not talking about the names. He's talking about Veda actually means to gain knowledge. So this knowing that we are talking about and what we are understanding, and the name given is Atmajna. Somebody, Jna means Jnanam. Somebody who has the Atmajnanam is the Atmajna, who knows. And this knowing involves two stages. The first stage is to separate the body and the Atma, the consciousness, because we think that consciousness is an integral part of the body. So we have to first understand that consciousness is not an integral part and it is an independent entity. And there is a beautiful example that I was recollecting the other day is think about it as like there is a dark room and there is a hand on the table. On that you shine a light. So you have given visibility to that hand that was previously not visible. So there is a light as a different entity and the hand as a different entity. The moment you turn off the light, though the hand being there is not seen. So, but there is no connectivity or there is no connection between the two. It is as though they are connected with each other, and then that's why you would be able to see the hand, but they're completely disconnected, two different entities. Similarly, Atma is an independent entity that enlivens the body, but it is not connected or it is not constrained by the body. So what we are saying it is, it's Atma is consciousness pervades the body. It is intimate, but it is not integral part of the body. So it is a separate entity. This is the first stage of the understanding. And now that we have separated body and consciousness, the next aim is asking the question, which of these two am I? And when we are trying to understand and what Bhagavan is trying to teach us through Bhagavad Gita, with that understanding of, oh, I have two entities, there is a body and there is consciousness, we'll say, I have an Atma. Just like, I have a hand and I have a leg and I have eyes, we will say, I have an Atma, assuming that we are the body. So we've been claiming, and we are even now claiming that the body alone, I am. And it is a very vehement claim that we do with this. We just take care of it very preciously, right? But then what Bhagavan is trying to say is that body is made up of decaying matter, and it has a start date and an end date. And though no matter how possessed or how obsessed we are about this body, it is going to perish. So our aim is dropping this claim. The second goal of this knowledge is dropping this claim on the body and claim the consciousness as myself, knowing that I am the Atman with a body instead of thinking I am the body with an Atma. So this shift is, I think, the largest shift and is the toughest for on the part of a seeker. It's not so easy for us to we can theoretically understand and talk about it, but going into that sarva karma sannyasa that we are talking about, that is something not very easy to attain. So there are some tools that are given to us. The first set of tools are the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana that we talked about. So Shravanam is listening to the Guru Parampara, understanding what they are trying to teach, and listening to the Shastras through a Parampara Guru. The second is Mananam. We don't talk about belief or faith in Hinduism. Maybe believe a little bit, but not necessarily faith. We don't say, this is what I say, therefore you have to trust and just go believe it. And you have to have faith in me. We say, this is the truth. Now you go and contemplate and figure it out by yourself if this is what you find as the truth. So whether we talk no matter how many Upanishads we read, everywhere where we see a guru and a sishya, and most Upanishads have that guru sishya, at least all the Pradhan Upanishads except Mandukyam, there is a guru and sishya relationship, and there are questions asked and the guru gives the answers, and they say, go contemplate on this, right? So that mananam is about coming up with questioning whatever has been taught, not taking everything at its face value, but actually questioning it and understanding why it is said so, but with Shraddha. And we have recently read about Shraddha, where Shraddha actually means that Shastra is right. It's probably my understanding that's not right. Therefore, I'm going to approach this knowledgeable guru that will help me understand the Shastra better. So questioning with Shraddha is expected. So in the Manana stage, it's about clearing all of these doubts. Then Nididhyasana has lots of multiple steps underneath, which includes whatever knowledge that has been applied, how to apply that practically into day-to-day our activities and living the life of an Atmagnya. And what does that look like? The end goal of such living is that Sarva Karma Sannyasa. So it is nothing new that we have to do because we are born as a Sarva Karma Sannyasi. It is just that we have on the way, we acquired this body as me notion and have been given this other, like, or at least got ourselves into this perception that I am the one doing the action and I am the one receiving the fruits, instead of thinking that I'm akarta, I am abhokta, and scenarios are getting presented, and this is as a person with a body, mind, and sense organ complex that is given to me. These scenarios are being presented, and I am going to do what is the dharma, and using this body as the instrument, perform those actions as required, but I don't expect any results out of it. Of course, we will talk more in detail about, the whole chapter 3 is dedicated to these concepts of Ishvara Arpana Buddhi and Ishvara Prasada Buddhi. Whatever work I do is offered at the feet of the Lord. Whatever result I get is a prasada from God. So I will take it with reverence. But at the same time, knowing that all of this is related to the body, mind, sense complex, and behind all of this is the Atman, which is me. So that is the real Sarva Karma Sannyasa. And Karma Sannyasa, the difference between the two is Karma Sannyasa purely is that I stop doing actions. And we have also previously touched on this part. We can stop certain actions, like, I can stop eating food, but I cannot stop breathing. I cannot stop sleeping. There are certain activities that I'm continuing to do. So there is no possible way for us to completely give up actions if that is taken literally as giving up actions, because there are actions that are getting performed, sitting, standing, everything. So Sarva Karma Sannyasa that will be taught to us in chapter 4 is all about that change and shift in focus on understanding who I really am and knowing that I am the Atman. By default, I am the Akarta and I am the Abhokta. But at the same time, it doesn't mean I stop performing the actions. I do what is my dharma. Did that make sense? Are there any thoughts anybody wants to share?
So, Sriji, I mean, yes, we understood what you said, but does karma sannyasa means like they stop doing actions or they don't attach to the action?
So the real karma sannyasa, there are some other philosophies like Charvaka philosophy, and there are multiple philosophies, and especially Shankaracharya talks about some of these philosophies in Brahma Sutras, where there are objections that are presented in front of him, and he would, give debate with them on what those objections are. So in according to some of those earlier philosophies, not even the Sankhya, I shouldn't take their name. It's more of the Charvakas, where it is about, oh, Gita said don't do action, so I'm not going to do anything. So Shankaracharya debates that is called laziness, that is escapism. Don't take it that way. You still have to perform actions, and at some point, I think in chapter 3, I was taking another class. We were reading about if a lady says, oh, I am in the middle of reading and studying Gita and my child is crying, Bhagavan would say, go pick up your child first and take care of the child. And then if you find time, go to study Gita. So it's about picking the right dharma on what should be done instead of giving up actions. So Sarva Karma Sannyasa would actually mean, you can use the word unattached, and you can keep that attachment at a mind level, where we talked about attachment as the raga. So without raga, I can perform actions. That is one, like at the mental level, emotional level, we can apply that. But going into the consciousness level, we say by default, I am not attached to any of these karmas. Did that make sense?
So, sarva karma sannyasi is not attached to the action, but karma sannyasi doesn't even perform action. Is that right?
Yes. Karma sannyasa means like I don't want to perform this action because Bhagavan told me to do so. That is the kind of debate we hear from Charvakas. And Charvaka philosophy states that you have been given this body to enjoy. So do all the things that make you the pleasure seeking activities. Whatever gives you pleasure, keep doing it. And for however long, You can perform those actions and enjoy life and leave when it is time. Okay, any other thoughts? Anybody wants to share what they have learned or based on what your studies?
Could you please, Padma here, could you please just talk on that, who is the killer and who is being killed? So, so if I can use that concept in the daily life, how will I be, how can I do it?
So, and Bhagavan actually, like Swamiji explains it in one of the previous topics where he says, Bhagavan took, like, when he talks about hanyate and hanyamane sharire, he's taking the highest of the sins. It's, it's not, for example, if we take something smaller, then there might be a question on, okay, you told me that I could either do this or that, but it's much higher of a level. Can I do this? Or can I not do this? And would I be considered an akarta bhokta if I did this? So that's why Bhagavan picks the highest of, like, of actions that one cringes to do. And he says, even for such an act, Atma is not involved in this. But at the same time, there'll be some more explanations on how somebody who is an assassin can use the same, like, we've talked about Oppenheimer, how that is not correct, that it has to be done with dharma as any action should have dharma as its foundation. Though Atma is akarta and abhokta, you can only listen to the consciousness if you're doing your activities more dharmically. So is that what you were asking about, Padmaji? Does it
Yes,
answer your
yes,
question?
yes, yes, yes. The ethical. I wanted to bring the ethics into it. So
Exactly.
if the dharma is not there, then doesn't apply to that.
No. And how Oppenheimer actually knew about dharma, but he skewed it to his liking, thinking that, okay, the job that I have been given by American Army is to create this atomic bomb. And it is my dharma, therefore, because my employer says me to do so, I'll go do this. And we recently talked about that too. Right, I did sign up for a certain job description, but if at some point, if it is raising some ethical concerns, that person has to back out, knowing that it is going to cause a massive, whatever they have done in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So dharma at various different levels, at the physical, emotional, like all those five levels of dharma that one has to consider, and one takes precedence over the other.
So Shriji, I guess Al Qaeda or that philosophy would be the extreme opposite or the other extreme of no dharma, but still blaming God for their doings.
Correct.
And the Shravanam Mananam that you said further on leads to Sakshatkaram.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And there are 5 levels, even, and we will talk about it at some point. We call it the Sayujya, Sarupya, Sanidhya, and Aikyam, and all of that. So there are levels, even in that, on how one achieves the Aikyam with that Atman, like, how they can relate themselves or they realize themselves as the Atman and ignore everything else that goes beyond, including their body, mind, and sense complex. Exactly. It goes to Sakshatkaram. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's the purity of mind and how nothing disturbs it. And what Swami Vivekananda talks about this, and I quote this very often, I don't remember the exact words. He says, if a person has to see his reflection in water, there are two conditions that need to be fulfilled. One, the water has to be very clear. It should not be muddy waters. Second, there should not be any waves or any disturbance in the water. It has to be calm. So, and he relates that to how we can, I'm using the wrong term, how we can see the Atman, like how we can relate ourselves to the Atman, how the Atman can reflect from us. He says, first thing, your mind has to be completely like pure, with none of those Shadvargas or like, the Arishadvargas. And the second one, the vrittis have to be completely calmed. And that's when you'd be able to go into that, the nirvikalpa samadhi and savikalpa samadhi, and they go into all of those processes, right? And that's when the Atman reflects. That's when the glass, what Patanjali calls as the colorings, whether it's like, my brain at that moment, based on what I'm thinking, I could be reflecting a blue colored glass. I need to make that into a transparent glass so Deepam can reflect as its own color.
Did you say Vritti has to be calm?
Vrittis have to be settled.
Settled. Okay.
Deviji, I like that so much. So it just tells us how, all the sadhana we are doing, why we are doing, we are going and reaching that level. So beautifully said.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move to the next topic. Who would like to read this one?
I can.
Please go ahead.
The real meaning of sannyasa. A person who is a sarvakarma sannyasi is called a vidwan, one who is wise. All the karma that the vidwan has done so far, all the prayers, yoga and other forms of discipline, and even a life of sannyasa have found their fulfillment in this sarvakarma sannyasa. Thereafter, Shankara said, there is no question of such a person doing certain karmas in order to create some result. There is nothing more to do. All the prayers have been fulfilled in this particular discovery, and it is for this discovery alone that the prayers and other karmas were performed. In this way, Shankara connected Vedanta Shastra to the Karma Shastra. Karma Yoga is meant for this alone. Thus, sannyasa is really sarvakarma sannyasa. For the sarvakarma sannyasi, there are no karmas to be performed. The point here is that the rituals enjoined by the Shastra need no longer be performed by the sarvakarma sannyasi. If the person continues to be a householder, he or she is purely playing on previous karma, prarabdha karma, and whatever one was doing is continued. King Janaka was a case in point. Although he was considered a wise man, he continued to be the ruler of a kingdom and was not bothered by the role at all. Like Janaka, one can be a wise person and be in the world or be a sannyasi without playing any roles, having given up everything to pursue knowledge. Either way it is possible. Being a jnani has nothing to do with what the jnani seemingly does and does not do. This is what is meant by Sarvakarma Sannyasa, as established in the Shastra and elaborated upon here by Shankara. When you say I am affected, then Atma is looked upon as an object, a karma, that has something affecting it. This object can be a person, an event, or even Ishvara. Anyone who looks upon Atma as an object does not know Atma. The sansaris.
1 second. Oh, actually, there are a few more lines. 1 sec, sorry. I should have scrolled. No, I'm lost. Here. Can you see it?
Samsara.
This one?
Oh, okay. When you say I'm affected, then Atma is looked upon as an object, a karma, that has something affecting it. This object can be a person, an event, or even Ishvara. Anyone who looks upon Atma as an object does not know Atma. The samsari's ignorance, ajnana, is such that not only does the person look upon himself or herself as a karma, an object, but also as a karta which only heightens the ajnana. One looks upon oneself as a doer, otherwise one could not be a sinner. Unless a person performs action, there is no way of sinning, nor is there any way of gathering karmas and karma phalas. Some people do not take the body as Atma, but believe that there is a survivor of this body. Most religious people believe this to be so. Even the nihilists, Buddhists, believe that you are born again and again. Therefore, moksha for them is realizing that the Atma is a zero, non-existent. They believe in the survival of the Atma until enlightenment, whatever their concept of enlightenment may be. Thus, in all religions, they talk of an Atma other than the physical body, referred to as the soul, that which survives death. Any given soul is the karta, he or she is the sinner, and so on. It's a belief, but at the same time, people do look upon that Atma, the survivor, the soul, as one who is subject to all kinds of karma, all kinds of punya, papa, imperfections, and so on, and as one who may get some kind of bliss experience later. All these beliefs were negated here by Krishna. Hasya
Bhashyakara.
Bhashyakara mentioned specifically those who consider themselves to be great scholars and yet say there is no way of knowing the Atma. They say that knowledge of the Atma free from kartrutva, doership, is not possible, and therefore sarvakarma sannyasa is also not possible.
Okay, here Shankaracharya is talking about the concept like, is not possible, but other people. So he will, those are objections that are being created, and he will now give the answer. So we'll move into the next part as well. Who would like to read this one? Thank you so much.
Can I?
Please go ahead, Padmaji.
Okay. From I'm not the doer, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not the doer. It was pointed out that sarva karma sannyasa is only possible if Atma is not a doer, that is a karta. Only when one understands I am not the doer, aham akarta, does the renunciation of all karmas take place naturally. If the knowledge that I am neither a doer nor an enjoyer has arisen in someone, then sarva karma sannyasa is accomplished by that person. Only if the knowledge itself cannot take place is sarva karma sannyasa an impossibility. But on what basis can you say this knowledge cannot take place? Are you saying that such an Atma is not there? And if so, upon what do you base your statement? You cannot say that Atma is not there, since the very act of saying so presupposes an Atma, because you're existent, you're talking. Therefore, no one can say, I'm not there. In the existence of Atma, then, there is no doubt whatsoever. If the doubt is not with reference to the existence of the Atma, then it is with reference to the Atma being a karta. It is easy to assume that there can be no akarta Atma because the Atma is known as karta, not as akarta. And if there is an Atma that is a karta, there is no way of knowing it. This could be the contention of most people who do not understand that there is no kartitva for the Atma. To this we answer as follows. If Atma is the karta, it must always be the karta. If the Atma is always the karta, if kartitva is the very nature of the Atma, then as a doer, it should be doing all the time. But that is not what happens. Sometimes you fall back and do nothing at all. You only enjoy. Then you see only enjoyership, bhoktitva, and no kartitva. similarly, if enjoyership were the nature of Atma, then Atma would be a bhokta all the time. That thus Atma is neither karta nor bhokta. There are moments when neither doership nor enjoyership is there, when there is no I sense at all, because this I notion, ahankara, is absent at times between two thoughts, for example. How then are you going to account for this experience? You cannot. Nor can you say that the Shastra says Atma is a karta, because it says Atma is a karta, and we have no data whatsoever to contradict this statement. You may agree with the Shruti that Atma is a karta, but may say that knowledge of such an Atma is not possible because it is not the object of your mind. But Shastra says that such knowledge has got to be gained by the mind alone, for which there is a pramana, the Shastra. You have a mind that is capable of the knowledge that will destroy the ajnana, the ignorance. This is all that we are talking about, and you say it is not possible. Is it that it is not possible for you, or is it because it is not possible at all? Can I stop or?
Yeah, I think we'll continue on this one because it's like a very nice moment that you're stopping. We'll do the next one, please.
Okay. Do you want me to continue or somebody?
Yeah, please continue if you would.
Okay. Can Atma be known? How can I gain the knowledge of the Akartatma? Akartatma. I cannot see the Akarta Atma here. Shankara says that knowledge of Atma is not similar to the knowledge of an object, but is rather the removal of ignorance about the subject itself. There is a knower who has ignorance about himself or herself, and removal of that ignorance is the only knowledge being discussed here. This knowledge, vritti jnana, is I am not the doer. Aham akarta. This thought, vritti, is capable of destroying the ignorance about oneself. A particular fact that I am the Atma, the non-doer, is not known, and ignorance of this fact is removed by a vritti brought about by the teaching, upadesha. The vritti, having done its job, goes along with the ignorance. Where is the problem here? We have a complete methodology, prakriya, for it. How exactly the knowledge takes place, and so on. If you say that it does not take place in your particular mind, antakarana, then we say that a certain type of antakarana is necessary, and that there are ways for you to gain it. This is why Gita talks so extensively about yoga and so on. Because you do not want to accept something, you keep on talking about its impossibility. This is because of your commitment to a belief. You are not committed to truth. First, you commit yourself to a belief, to a faith, and then you explore for confirmation of that belief in the Shastra. One should have Shraddha in the Shastra and explore it to find out what it has to convey.
Awesome. It's about the preconceived notions, right? Like we all always go into, this is what I've heard, and now when I read something, that this is what I want to hear because that's what I believed in so far. And so until the point of, the Samhitas, the Brahmanas and Aranyakas have been talking about there is me, the Jivan, and there is the Jagat, and there is the Paramatman, and I have a Jivatman, and there are three things in this world. And then suddenly Upanishads say, you know what, all of this is not multiple things, it's all one and the same. And so far that's not what we have heard or what we have believed or what we see, even like through perception. That's not my truth. And suddenly it's just like, okay, sorry, what were you saying? And then stopping. It's like a hard stop on trying to understand, and that's when the brain starts working, and that's when the light, and we talk about the Rajju Sarpa Nyaya, and it is given like multiple times as examples everywhere. When there is a snake and there is a fear, through even when we are doing learning samhitas, even when we are doing homas and agnihotras, there is this fear, there is this action oriented, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. There is a shopping list that goes on in our mind, and that shopping list never ends. And when we start contemplating in the Aranyakas, and that is designed for the Vanaprasthis, even at that time, we are talking about there is me and there is Paramatman, and that's the point where we are trying to prepare our mind for that merger, thinking, okay, I'm going to have a Swarga Prapti. So even so in Swarga, again, we've all heard and stories about what Swarga is going to be, right? Like there is this enjoyment, it's better lifestyle. So it's always about earning something else, and then Upanishads say, now look within. Whatever you were seeking, whatever that ananda is within you. So that's where Shraddha comes into picture, what Swamiji is talking about. Don't commit yourself to a preconceived belief or faith, and then try to explore and confirm if that is true or that is what is mentioned in Shastra. When you start exploring this, give it the full benefit of doubt. Let the Shastra tell you what is in it, and then you will understand the truth. Okay. Thank you, Padmaji. Who would like to read the next topic?
So this is the Shravana and Manana you are talking about, right?
Correct. So when we were learning, what we were told is during Shravana, just write down your questions. And that's what Swamiji used to say very frequently, like write down your questions. It's not that I don't want you to ask me, but so many of these questions that you have now will be resolved on your own, on their own, is what he would say. And he would give us, after doing so many months of work and listening and listening and listening, the time he would say, okay, now pick up that notebook where you have been writing questions. And that is a game changer in my learning of Vedanta. I felt like, oh, I have so many questions, like dozens of them. And then he would say, okay, pick your top 10. And usually there is satsang in the evenings, even with in Sailorsburg, we do that after the evening puja and dinner. There is an hour of satsang, and we can just write questions, and whoever is the Swamiji that is leading the session at that time will answer those questions. So we would all just open our notebooks and look for the questions that we have, and which question am I going to pose. And he would say, okay, if there is anything that got resolved, just strike it off. You don't have that question anymore, that you have no doubt, absolutely like no doubt. Even if it's a minor doubt, like 1% doubt, just ask. And unbelievably, there are so many questions that I personally have stricken off. I still have all of that notes. And when I look at it, it just feels like that giving that 100% Shraddha in the Shastra and let it teach. That helps a lot. So that is the Shravana and Manana stages. And once there is that 100% understanding of the truth, and all the questions get resolved. And there is no this philosophy or this parampara or this something. All of those get cancelled away. There is no difference in anything. Okay, we've got 4 minutes. Are there any thoughts anybody would like to share at this point instead of starting a new topic?
So what is the third word you used for like practicing it?
Nididhyasana.
Nididhyasana.
And as Swamiji was talking, like you're mentioning here, there is a lot of yoga and multiple. No, yoga has only one meaning, right? Like everybody knows, yoga means to unite, and uniting this Atman to its real nature, or the Jivatman to the Paramatman. And what that unite means, there are, again, as I mentioned previously, there are 5 different levels of that union that are possible. So at some point we'll talk about it. So yoga, different kinds of yoga, and Lord Krishna talks about so many of those, and he dedicates a whole chapter to dhyana yoga, meditation. Antarmukhatvam is possible only when you silence the world from the mind from the world and separate it and just calm it down to the point that you're able to listen to your heartbeat, is what I get told. So, and just trying to achieve that, and then from there, like, all the nadis and activations and all of those, and perception that goes beyond the audible frequencies of sounds for any human being, just going a little on both extremes, stretching that. And that's how rishis actually expanded, and we know that's how the shastras came into picture, the shruti. So all of those are achieved through that yoga. Okay, if there are no further thoughts, shall we conclude for the week?
Okay. I had something to say.
Yes.
Please go ahead, Jayaramanji.
Yeah. There's a paragraph starting with, you cannot say Atma is not there, since the very act of saying so presupposes an Atma.
Correct.
In this paragraph, could you kindly clarify? Some of the things are not very clear to me.
Yeah, I remember where that was. Let me just go back to that one. So what we previously talked about, there was a long topic about the word ease, right? So when we say the Atma is not, like, so I'm trying to recollect that very specific sentence, Jayaramanji, can you repeat that one? The presupposes the existence of Atma, that one. So no, if one, I'm trying to find that. Can you tell me which page it is? And yours is different than mine. Sorry, it's no point asking. It should be somewhere at the bottom 2 paragraphs. Okay, never mind. So what we're talking about is saying, like, consciousness is awareness. There is no difference between the two, right?
Yeah.
So being aware of that I exist itself is talking that I'm as the Atman that I'm talking. And we speak about ease. This mind is, or this body is. That easiness is the awareness, the consciousness. So even by saying certain thing, even if whether it is talking about Atman or anything else, I am a person of awareness, or I have consciousness, that itself makes Atma's existence perceived and known. It doesn't require any additional pramana other than that I am aware and I'm conscious, or they're all interchangeable words. I'm aware itself means that I am the Atman. That awareness is what we call as Atman. Did that make sense?
Thank you. This is a particular, we have to reach the level of that closer seat.
Yeah, and some of these, like, well, as we are reading it, if there is something that strikes you, and each person will find a different sentence that they relate with. So highlight the one that you are relating yourself to. And that's why I don't highlight in this PDF that I share on the screens. I do it on my iPad, because, and I say this many times. Bhagavan gives us very personalized curriculum, very tailored to what we need to do given what stage we are in, where we are, and what we learn and how we assimilate is very specific, customized for each of us. So if something is making you rethink, highlight that and contemplate on it, and that's when we get answers and we progress forward. Okay,
Thank
with
you.
that thought.
Shriji, I have one more thing. Now,
Sure.
one way of looking at is that I have to gain this, I have to get it into better understanding, then with Shraddha, then with deeper understanding, deeper meditation. That is one learning. But then when you start to give up the things that don't matter, one after another, one after another, you really know what exactly Atma is, because that has no connection with these many mayas that you continue to do. So elimination is also one process of learning. um, do you agree?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I think, a big, huge proponent of giving up. And I do a lot of those give up and some strange things and some more traditional, more conventional stuff. And recently I was talking to my son very casually, and I was saying, like, my favorite month is, as you can all imagine, I'm Vishnu Bhakta by Vaishnava by heart. So usually in that month, in Dhanur Masam, I give up something every year. So I was asking my son, like, what am I giving up this year? And he just jokingly looked at me and said, Mom, I think you should give up the thought of giving up. So I laughed. But well, anything, right? Like, it could be at the physical level, at the emotional level, some things that you feel like, oh, there is no way I cannot live without it. Challenge yourself. You'll be absolutely fine by giving it up. I'm not talking about responsibilities and people. I'm talking about addictions or even things that we think, oh, how is that even possible? And somebody coming from a Telugu family, originally Andhra, but born, brought up in Hyderabad, we are expected, or we are supposed to be eating a lot of chili, right? So there is no food item that we prepare that doesn't have any chilies in it. So last year, my giving up was like I gave up on so many other things, but I had like absolutely no chili for a whole year. So I take it as a diksha, and my whole family was like aghast on, like, what do you prepare? And I did not know, even the moment it occurs to me in front of like my mandiram, and that's where I decide, and I just do the tarpanam and say, okay, this is it. I'm giving it up. And then I start thinking about how will I survive without that. And not even for a single second I regretted doing that. It was such a beautiful experience. And that's just one example. I've given up so many things in my life, but some more, I think, mental, more emotional, subtle stuff, and some more physical things. Things that I would have thought I would never be able to give up. I loved music, from like, Arabic to Jackson's and all of that stuff, the famous five, like so many stuff, Backstreet Boys, and all of you would have been the same set too, fans of all of this stuff. I would have had some 1,200, 1,300 songs that I used to play like on replay many times. And in 1 second, I decided, like, yeah, give it up. And do they matter to me? Absolutely not. And these are some silly things that I'm talking about. There are some serious things that I've given up as well. And it starts from there, when you realize how much time is being spent on such less important things, and what's more important in life. These suddenly become so trivial. It's not necessary to do so, but it's a path. Is that what you were talking about, Anuji, or did I just completely digress into a different topic?
Not at all. That's what I as in when we're reading, that's what comes to my mind.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll conclude with a Shanti mantra. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Sarvam Sriman Narayana Charanara Vindarpanamastu. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful long weekend, everybody.
You too,
Thank
and
you,
thank you.
Guruji. Have a
You too.
Thank
wonderful
you.
and
Thank you.
safe weekend, everybody.